I want to tell you guys about what I think might be the biggest misunderstanding in Christianity and has likely turned millions of people away from the teachings of Jesus. The Bible says hell is eternal, but I think that's a mistranslation. And if that's true, what the original text is actually pointing to, while a little bizarre, is infinitely better than the idea of an infinite punishment. So the word eternal comes from the Greek word aionios, which comes from the root word aion. Now, aion was already a common Greek word long before the Bible was written, so we have many examples of how the Greeks actually used it. With that said, let me tell you all the times aion or aionios has been used to mean an infinite amount of time. Yeah, that's it. There isn't one. Every example I've ever seen that people use to argue it means eternity is, when you actually read it, talking about an age, an epoch, or some segment of time. The most common example people use for aion correlating with eternity was in Plato's Timaeus, where he says, time, chronos, came into being as the moving image of aion. If you don't know much about Greek mythology, maybe you hear chronos and think, well, he's a god. Gods are eternal, so this must be talking about eternity. But Chronos is the god of time, beginnings and endings, the inversion of timelessness itself. The quote isn't saying aion is an infinite amount of time, the point is the complete opposite. The quote is clearly saying Chronos is the embodiment of aion, so if you know what one represents, then you know the other. Now let's look at a clip from Interstellar where Matthew McConaughey plays an astronaut who has entered a black hole or portal located at Saturn. Remember, Saturn represents Chronos, which in astrotheology is where time ends and timelessness begins. Once Matthew McConaughey enters the portal, he is then able to create synchronicities in order to help those still within the influence of Chronos, also known as the aion.
Tell him, Murph. Make him stay. Make him stay, Murph. Make him stay, Murph. Don't let me leave, Murph. Don't let me leave, Murph. No!
Somewhere in their fifth dimension, they saved us.
Who the hell is they? And just why they want to help us, huh?
I don't know, but they constructed this three-dimensional space inside their five-dimensional reality to allow you to understand it.
Hell, that ain't working.
Yes, it is. You've seen that time is represented here as a physical dimension.
Say that again.
They didn't bring us here to change the past.
Oh, they didn't bring us here at all. We brought ourselves. All of this is one little girl's bedroom, every moment. It's infinitely complex. They have access to infinite time and space, but they're not bound by anything.
Then you've got the Greek god Aion, who's the personification of what the Greeks understood Aion to mean. He's usually shown standing inside the zodiacal wheel. The Greeks took astrology very seriously. They talked about the age of Pisces, the coming age of Aquarius. The whole idea was based around ages and epochs. And this is where things start getting a little weird for some. Jesus tells his disciples to follow the man carrying the water jar. Now, during that time, carrying water was a woman's job, so it's a strange detail to include if it's supposed to be literal. The esoteric interpretation was that Jesus, being the embodiment of Pisces, was telling his disciples of the next Aion, Aquarius. Many people dismiss ideas like this as New Age beliefs. Ironically, the idea that hell is eternal is itself a recent mainstream interpretation. From my understanding, most early Christians believed in something called apokatastasis, or the eventual restoration of all souls. Just to further support this point, if you're someone who takes near-death experiences seriously, you might have noticed that people regularly describe leaving hell. I've watched thousands of NDEs, and I've never heard a single account in which someone was told by a benevolent being that anyone would remain in hell for eternity. Many people feel they are doomed forever while they're there, and even continue believing this after returning back to their body, but nothing actually told them that. I want to end with a personal experience about what led me to even look into the subject. Years ago, I was agnostic. I didn't take Jesus or his teaching seriously at all. I reached a point where my drug addiction felt impossible to overcome on my own, so I prayed. I said, "Aliens, God, Jesus, whoever or whatever is listening, please help me." The very next morning, I was arrested. I detoxed in jail and kept experiencing what I can only describe as Jesus synchronicities. When I got out of jail and took my first shower, I prayed again. I said, "If I'm supposed to believe in Jesus or God, please send me a sign. But if the Bible is true, I can't reconcile the idea that people burn alive for eternity because of finite sins, no matter how terrible those sins are. Please help me understand." As soon as I got out of the shower, I turned on YouTube. The very first video recommended to me was a near-death experience. Keep in mind, at the point, I had never watched an NDE before and had never even searched for anything like it. I clicked on the video, and it was about a man who went to hell. At the end of his story, he explained that he later became a pastor and came to understand that his time in hell was temporary. He also said he came to learn that the idea that hell lasting forever comes from a mistranslation in the Bible. That moment inspired me to begin researching this topic for myself and make this video. Hopefully it has the same impact on someone watching that it had on me. Thanks for watching.